Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is discoverymedia.com. I am your host, Sarah Troy, and my wonderful guest back here again is Alison Goldwyn. She has just put on or been a part of this wonderful series of the Source of Wonder, which I was extremely honored to be a part of. She is a woman that she's an event woman. She creates events, but everything about her is an event because she has such passion. She says that climate change has brought us to our knees. Change in the emotional climate can bring us to our senses. She is a multi-talented climate alchemist and a founder and creative director of an epic future televisionary event called Synchronistory. It is wonderful to have her back on here again, but she just brought these incredible people together in this wonderful project, The Source of Wonder, which I really encourage everybody to go and listen to. I have every single one of the days right here under the Source of Wonder platform, and you can just go in and listen to all these people that have contributed their time, their wisdom, their passion, their love, whether it's in performances, whether it's just speaking to you, whether it's about their books, songs, and also Alison's song, which opens it up, which is absolutely beautiful. You're going to be hearing this as we close out the show today. This is a woman who absolutely loves what she does. And it's about bringing us all to a higher level of consciousness, a consciousness that understands that we need to come together, that we need, when we come together, we are empowerment. We are that symphony that people need to hear. We are that invitation that gets them up to dance. And it is up to each and every one of us to be a part of that orchestra, to be a part of that symphony. And we can be if we just step up. She's not only stepped up, but she's gathered the masses and brought them together. And this is just the tip of the iceberg of what she's done here. And I know there's so much more to come, but I did not want the Source of Wonder event, although it live is over, to go off into the twilight zone because it has so much wonderful wisdom. And the conductor is right here. Alison, welcome back, my love.
Great to be here, Sarah, in whatever condition, in whatever way. Welcome to 2020 as it changes the way.
Yes.
This
Yes,
is
dear.
what we call a symbol. This is a symbol, and this is a symbol.
Mhm.
And this symbol has incited so much violence, anger, disruption, emotional eruption. And I was thinking about this symbol, which we call a mask, which is like the ultimate masquerade party that nobody wanted to be invited to, right?
Right, right,
This
yes.
thing. And yet, we wear masks all the time.
All the
The
time.
invisible masks that mask the true self, our true identity from others and from self.
Mhm.
And I was thinking deeply about this, how fragile the human condition is when it comes right down to it. All the anger, all the
I know.
rebellion, all of that, which I can even understand in the human, the deepest parts of my humanity, it all winds up being about, am I lovable? Am I good enough? Will I be rejected or accepted if I reveal my true self? And not just to other, but to self. Can I self-accept? So people, of course, we hope that you would wear the mask not just to protect others, but to protect
Mhm.
self. But if this mask has such a negative connotation, think about that invisible mask that we all wear. That's what I want to point out, the invisible one that starts to cover up the beauty, the inherent beauty of who we all are. And it is a process. I know, Sarah, it's so good to return to be
Mm.
with you here. And we have lived through, it feels like a lifetime since years ago when we
Yes.
when we
Yes.
convened. But I tell you, it's still and always the same message, isn't it?
Yes, it
It's,
is. It's because
yes,
it's a core message. It comes from very
yeah,
core. It comes from the generator of life. It comes from the source of life. It's a core message, and it's simply that heart symbol love. To learn how to love, learn how to give love, how to live in love, how to be the love. It's all about love. Love for the planet, love for each other, love for ourselves, love in everything that we do, which I know you do. You exude that love in the passion of what you do. And when you
I love
step
it.
into that love, you become the love. You know, you
Mm.
ignite that love in others because your love runneth over. Why are we so afraid of love?
Oh my God. Well, honestly, we are so afraid of it, I think, because we're so afraid of losing it. If
Mm,
we even get some of that, even if we're lucky enough to taste a little of that, oh my God, that opens up vast reserves of longing and desire, even if we were lucky enough to be born into the most loving parental structure,
yeah,
or we were lucky enough to have a mentor who loved us through much of our early stage of life, or whatever stage of life, the longing never goes
no.
away. And then we've got the compounded societal
Mm,
pressure against being loved. So we're fighting not only this inner childlike longing that's always there, but the billions of others of us,
mm,
which becomes the community. It's almost like swimming upstream without a paddle, but as you say, source
yeah.
is is our connect.
Everything. It is
It's
everything. Um,
that.
I had a show on last week, which came from a conversation of a show that I was on, and it was about, being willing to feel. And so many people shut their heart down. It was hurt once. I was hurt once. I don't want to, I don't want to open up myself to that pain again. And I said, but without that pain, without opening up your heart, you never hear the wisdom from the soul. You never understand what the heart is really here to do. You never understand how to engage or connect with your spirit, with your mind. Because if you're just locked up in your head in pain, repeating it all the time, and your heart isn't open, you cannot achieve anything. The soul can't speak to a closed heart. You need to open up that heart. And when we do open that beautiful vulnerability and trust, aha, then we actually understand what we need, what the planet needs, what we all need together, and how we can do it together, because that then becomes the invitation, doesn't it? My heart is in it. Come and join me.
Yes, yes. I've always admired your eloquence, your ability to just let the loving wisdom flow. And so I just say that right off the bat.
Thank you.
And also the fact that in this COVID, how often we have said that word this year,
Yes.
this pandemic-y, COVID-y year, full of COVIDios, I must say,
Yes,
and a
yes.
lot of creativity.
Hurricane, just one
Yes.
whirlwind of a hurricane. Yeah.
But what it is doing, and it is really a toughie to say this and to trust this, it is a kind of a heart opening
Yes.
experience. Now, the question is, and believe me, I understand this as well as anybody, will we hold that open space once this comet has passed? What kind of a tail light is that going to leave? Are we going to finally um, exceed yet another blip on the radar of history? This time, are we going to, or will we make an incremental growth spurt? But I don't imagine that we're going to go from 0 to 500 all at once. But I really urge and encourage people to understand the importance, symbolic and the literal importance of this year, because when things are going along okay or great, or just on autopilot for that matter, that is somehow not a call for most people's heart to
Right.
open. It seems
Mm,
that it takes some kind of catastrophe. I don't really understand why, but this seems to be
mm.
the way that then produces that vulnerable underbelly of humanity, exposes it to the light of day. Very painful, can be very for some people, it can be quite beautiful, but for most, it's quite tumultuous. And I liken this moment, therefore, to a kind of birth on earth, the birth contractions of which are accelerating and intensifying. And Lord knows, we're all born without a conscious, at least, choice or a user
Yes.
manual. So we can't expect any of us to recall how to birth ourselves. And that's exactly what's happening. What phase of the emerging through that dark tunnel into the light of day are we experiencing right now? And it's coming at different levels and different intensities for different people. So it's a phenomenon.
It
And
is. Yes. Yeah.
yes. And we have to tread
Yeah.
gently, as you have said so many times. Hard to do when you're raw and
Yeah.
you're stressed and you're clinging to every last vine just to get by.
Right. You know, I'm an
Yeah.
asthmatic, so and I was one time interviewing someone. Fortunately, it was a woman of 15 kids, so perfect person to happen to. And I went into an asthma attack. I'd never seen myself do that before, and it was quite scary to actually see myself because I didn't realize I contorted. Everything about me went tense, and literally my face, I'm coughing, and the eyes and the mouth was, doing, and it was like, oh my God, I look like a freak show. And I mean, she's just really calm, saying, "It's okay, dear. It's okay, dear. Take your time, dear." And thank God it was her. And then, got my lungs back, and we continued with the interview. But it reminded me, I was losing breath. What happens when you lose breath? Everything tightens up, right? In order to breathe and release ourselves, we need to take that deep breath and get oxygen into our lungs so everything can open up. In many ways, we've been holding our breath for so long. And, now it is the time to open up those lungs and take that breath, relax that body, come out of that tension. Because we can't live in it all the time. We lose breath in that way. The universe is here to shake us up, to wake us up, for us to step up and change it up. And we've been shaken, and we've been awoken, and we've been invited to stand up, and we are changing it up. Because some of us, through this hurricane, have said, no, 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 I'm not accepting the hurricane. I realize it's there, but you're not going to get me in that. I am not going to be a part of that hurricane. I'm going to breathe, however hard it is. And that, I think, is the invitation right now. Do you want to still go contracted, where you anger and you hate and everything else holds you? Or do you want to let go and take that deep breath and open up and change? Because that is what it is. Please stand up, and stand up and unite first and foremost with your heart. Because if you're not heart engaged, you can't be engaged in anything else.
Oh, so true. And look, you said something just now that evoked in me a sense of parental nourishment and nurturing, to make it be okay. There's very little leadership or just conversation about holding the collective body, the collective global family in an embrace, and
Yes.
saying, okay, honey, we got you. We're all feeling it. Cry, let it out, like you're saying,
Yes.
because the contraction, there's another way of letting it out, and it does have to come out. There's a
Yes.
huge grieving. But if we don't have any benevolent voice that's saying to us, hey, it's okay.
Yeah.
Relax into this. We can do this. Okay, let's cry together. Let's
Yeah.
get angry together
Yes.
with respect to one another as we're going through it.
Right.
And with leadership, because leadership needs this exhale
Yes.
as
Yes.
well. And
Yes.
they are as tense in their quote unquote parental role models or
Mm-hmm.
their power structures as the rest of us. I know that's hard to believe, but they too are humans. Now, it doesn't make their policy or their response to chaos and catastrophe necessarily right. Some of them are trying to do the best. Others are doing what they've habitually done.
And some of them are the shoot stirrers.
Yes.
They're the ones that actually kind of, make that hurricane gather even more people in the hysteria, right? Because
Yes,
that's,
indeed.
yeah. But we
And
needed them anyway because they're the ones that's shaking things up.
that's right. And that's a
Mm,
tough thing for most people
yeah.
to acknowledge.
Mm.
So the compassion that you and I and others are trying to bring to the very noisy, very over how do we say it? Over something. I don't even know what the word is tonight. Conversation is to not to chill out, but okay, let it out.
Yes.
But let it out instead of like this, as
Hmm.
you're doing,
Crunched
like
up.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, not crunched over, but okay. Oh,
Yes.
help me! Oh my God Almighty, help me! This way, it's open and it's a surrender position
Yes.
in the anxiety, in the anger, in the fear, in the heartache and the heartbreak, but it's an open position. And there's a huge difference, as you
Massively,
understand. Huge.
massively.
Yeah.
The thing about being open and saying, I surrender, I am open, means you've opened up your heart. Now your soul can come in. That source of wisdom can come in and resonate in truth with your heart. It can speak to your spirit into actionism, and your mind will know what it needs to know when it needs to know it. But if your heart is closed down, if everything is shut down, the wisdom can't reach you, the source can't reach you. We have to open up for that knowledge to come to us and guide us forward, because after all, that's what we're wanting. We're wanting guidance forward. How do I navigate these tumultuous waters? Well, open up to source. Let it guide your heart. Let it guide your spirit. It will guide your mind, and you'll know where you need to go.
Exactly. And please, please, everyone, as she says to herself, don't recontract when this is over, when
Right.
this wave
No.
has passed. As I said in the source event, because I like you, and I'm going to say thank you for your extraordinary presence on the Source of Wonder
Oh,
for
honored to be a part of it.
days.
Thank you.
It was my joy and my privilege. I produced it with Nora Cesar, and it was a labor of love on
I could
behalf of
tell.
the
Hmm.
Sayanjis and Irvin Laszlo, phenomenal people who participated. And I hope your viewers and listeners will tune in.
Hmm.
But what I was saying in my presentation as part of that event was let this not be another blip on the radar of history, and to be vigilant in a loving way about that muscle, this
Hmm.
spiritual musculature that, like every muscle in our body, has a habitual position that it contracts back into. That's why people go to work out at the fitness
Yes.
clubs, or they get their cars tuned up or their computers rebooted, because things get clogged, things recontract. We want to avoid, after this immensely painful and tumultuous and opening year, is not to fall back. We
Right.
fell back even after 9/11, which was a powerful jolt. Uh, in the months that followed,
Camaraderie.
there was a camaraderie, but following that camaraderie, there was a little bit of this, repositioning the habitual stance. It took, many years to come back to sort of where we were before 9/11, even though things have never been the same since. But there's still this tendency to want to go back, to want to go to autopilot, to want to go to
Mm.
what's familiar, what's known, what is perceived as safe, because it's familiar. Even when it's uncomfortable, the familiarity oftentimes overpowers. And that's a fascination. So, how do you tell people to trust in the unknown? Because the fear of the unknown tends to be about something dangerous and ominous. It can be, but it also can be something wondrous. How do we help people?
Well, I think one of the reasons I think people have to have a damn good look at their life and go, am I already living in the horror show? Am I happy? Do I get up every day really looking forward to go to work, or coming home to my family? Do I feel that my life is fruitful? Do I feel I'm a contributor, not just to the household, but
Mhm.
to the economy, or to the environment, or to life itself? Am I a contributor, or am I a burden? And the burden is when you are taking and not giving back.
Mm.
And I think people have to have this conversation with themselves. Okay, you're in the safe zone. You're mindlessly doing what you did yesterday and the day before, but are you getting any joy out of it? Do you even know what joy is? And if your answer to that is no, then you have to be willing to change. And that means you may have to go through this self-discovery
Mm.
of what is holding you back, how to open up your heart, how to release the pain from before that's held you back in mistrust, um, and to give birth to yourself, which can be painful. But when you're holding yourself as a newborn again,
Mm.
and you're going, gosh, this whole canvas is for me to paint now, to
Mm.
paint the life I want, because I'm coming from heart, I'm coming from soul, my spirit is ignited. Then you realize that all of it was worth it. But it comes down to that question to the people: do you really love your life? And if you don't, what are you going to do about it? And if your
Mm.
answer is, oh, I don't know, I'm just going to say, you're not ready.
Mhm.
You're just living in a safe zone. It doesn't mean it's a good zone, or that it is even safe, because how long can you continue like that before the body or the psyche and everything else breaks down, right?
Yeah.
Because disconnect and dis-ease within the body causes disease.
Yes.
So it's imperative that we ignite that heart, soul, and spirit, because that's also what keeps us healthier, happier, more productive, and resonating at a higher frequency and higher vibration that embraces everybody. That exuberance for life, you've got it in droves. But at the same time, you know the challenges. We had on our Facebook conversation where I said I had to shut down for a few days to
Right.
rejuvenate. And you would say, I'm just, obviously exhausted after doing this event. And it's
Yes.
okay to take time out for yourself and nurture yourself. It's imperative, isn't it?
It is. I was so relieved. Here's a wonderful example also of how one person's self-care empowers another. I saw you post that on Facebook, and I said to myself, to my innards, oh yes, thank you. I will go to my bed now and hide under the covers for a little
Yay.
while. Yes. Now, if we can spread that exponentially, I'm not saying that that is the solution for
But
humanity.
sometimes it is. Just go flatten out and
Yes. See,
rejuvenate your energy.
right. Well, I'm wondering if people had been told in advance, okay, there's going to be a year off. Earth is going to be closed for renovation. So, would you, now that you know that in advance, would you like to just take some time off and go into the covers and relax? You see, it came at us like an assault.
Yeah.
We were broadsided. So who knew? Okay, I don't know if people knew in advance, but who knew that this was coming? And because the panic understandably overtook the
Mm.
opportunity that might be gleaned in these kinds of upheavals. And not everybody was in a safe zone where they could
Right.
relax, but there was opportunity. But who gave us the permission? The
Mm.
fear was overriding.
Right.
I think of this also a little bit like the metaphor of the faucet. You know, a rusty faucet that hasn't been used in ages, and you turn it on, and the first thing that you get is the erratic spurts and bursts and the gunk and the
Ugh. Yes.
yeah, yes, I don't know if you could even call it water, but there are people that even have to drink that to survive and
Yes.
thrive.
Yeah.
So after that runs a little
Mm.
while, we start to see that clear and steady stream. And in a sense, that may be what is being asked of humanity right now, to trust that right now we're in that early stage. Yet again, throughout history, we get these calls, early stage of
Because we're slow to
rusty,
learn, you have to keep
yes,
going back to the starting point.
yes,
Yes.
but we're in those early stages yet again. Will we go with the flow this time, so to
Yes.
speak, and allow that phase of the dirty and erratic spurts to level off? And I believe that they will, but I come back to the same old, same old. What will be in the aftermath? And if it's something at all positive, will we hold that, or will the child in us go back to the fear position, looking for a parent figure out there to encourage us to stay open, stay limber, and surrender? Source, as you have said in so many ways at so many times, and others say this too, it's real. I know
Mhm.
we speak a lot in the, shall we say, the consciousness community, conceptually. But what is really interesting, and if you saw it in me, in my exuberance for what I do,
Mm.
my passion, my joy, I've worked for that. And
Yes.
what I worked for was softening and surrendering and constantly just working that muscle of defensiveness, which is born of fear and insecurity of wanting to be loved, and constantly minding it, being mindful of it, and learning to have a loving parental relationship with it. There really is this inner child in everybody. It is not cliche, and it's not something that is only relegated to certain people who are not privileged. We all have it. It's part of the human condition. So, how we learn to self parent is going to be a reflection of what kind of community, society, and leadership we eventually see and seed. And this takes time. So it took me time. And you know how I started the process? I started it. I was more of a fashionista in my life. I
Mhm.
was one of these well-intended but rather superficial people who was married to that whole materialism thing.
Mm.
Though I wasn't, on the fast track, I wasn't in the jet set, but I was captivated by it. And I'll be honest with you, there are still remnants of that.
Oh, yes.
But one day, after a very, very long, sustained period of, I would call it my dark night of my soul,
Mhm.
for years, it went on for years. Uh, a very dear and wise soul told me to go to a tree. And if I tell you that my relationship to tree, to nature, was what I now tell others, like some noun over there, I said, why shall I go to a tree? What's going to happen if I go to a tree? What, are you going to tell me to hug it? And the person said, just go to the tree. Just be by a tree for a few moments. Just see what happens. And I kid you not, that was the aperture, was the portal. May not be the same for somebody else, but through that moment came other moments, and my awareness,
Mhm.
I guess it was plenty ready, because I was so vulnerable, so miserable, and so distraught. It was an existential crisis that I had been in for a sustained period. So I was already somewhat open and predisposed to something, and something walked into my life through, in this case, the tree. And from there, my perceptions started to shift. My awareness started to become more sensitive, more acute. And I had a few very unusual experiences that actually, for me, vivified what we will call energy or source or whatever you want to call it, but this greater experience of life. And it's never left me. And I am imbued with that permanently now, but it's a gift. It's a
Yes.
precious gift.
Yes.
So
I
I
mean, that's
hope.
the willingness, though, isn't it? I look at the world at the present moment and it's divided. So many places have such division. And North America, the States specifically, huge amount of divide right now, which is
Mm,
you can almost see, you can draw it down the line.
mm,
This has been an invitation for those who have wanted to ignite into the consciousness, who've wanted to believe that there is something more than the chaos, who have wanted to elevate. This has been an invitation for them to not hold themselves back, but to propel themselves forward. And we've seen such innovations and such creativeness, and so many people step forth to be that light unto themselves and unto others. The others, it's also been an enormous, the invitation was there, but instead it's brought out the anger and the angst and their sense of betrayal, because instead of being willing to go in and nurture their own child, their own loss, they're still in the blame game of it's an external thing until they expire that anger and
Mhm.
expire that hate and get to a point where, well, where's that got me? I'm now sick, or I'm now empty. I just haven't got any more hate in me to give. Surely there must be something different. And for some, it will then be their redirect. But for others, they will go by the way of the dinosaurs, because unless you are willing to open up your heart, and I believe this year, and I said at the beginning of the year, something is coming, because that saying of shake us up, wake us up, step up and change it up came to me 2.5 years ago. I said at the beginning of the year, something is coming to change humanity. Didn't know what it was, didn't know it was going to be a global pandemic, but I knew something was coming to shake us up, because
Mhm.
we had to step up. And I think what we're going to see right now, people like you and I, and people that have been riding that consciousness for a long time, stepping it up even more to give a platform that invites even more people to understand the ignition of their consciousness, the opening of the heart. And we're going to see that come more into the the new way of living, the way where everybody chooses to live in that way, because it's more harmonious, because it's more collaborative, it's more cohesive, it's more compassionate. And we don't want to go back to that hate. We've seen so much of it in this last year, and in North America right now is at a height. It really is. And we look at it and we go, oh God, it hurts to look at it. It hurts to hear it. I don't want ever to go down that road. We've made a conscious choice not to step into compassion. I have compassion for those people because they're so lost. But unfortunately, our life's journey is our choice, and we're here to connect with ourselves and bring forth the gift that we were given. And if we're not willing to do that in this lifetime, you'll come back again and again and again until you are. So that's their journey. We're all responsible for it. But those that have stepped into that light, we need to make sure that this light keeps shining bright for those that choose to leave that hate and come into love and exude that love and extend that love even more. I do believe this is the turning point for humanity, but it
Yes.
does leave people behind.
I so hope that you're right, that this really is the turning point, because we know historically there are dates and in time in history where they say, okay, now it's what 2012 was supposed to be it, or 2000, or you know.
The end of the
And
world, millennial, yes.
yes, I certainly remember that. I remember where I was, in fact, in 1999. I was on the banks of the Seine in Paris with my, it was then called Hands Around the World, Humanity Celebrates the Millennium. This
Mhm.
was my big global event, which I'll talk about shortly. And I realized that, okay, the millennium is here, the event is not. It's time to end that dream. And I tried to tear up the folder. I had thousands of these fabulous PR folders that had been sent out to all manner of, from politicos to top people in the advertising industry or celebrities, to generate some buzz in the years prior to the millennium. So I tried to tear it up and cast it and burn it, and then send it off onto the Seine, like a
Yes.
good riddance.
Yeah.
I remember it was impossible to tear the folder. It would not, I don't know what it was made of, rubber? I thought it was made of paper, but the thing would not. Finally, I managed to just grab something, and a piece of it broke off. And I think it was one of the continents. Was it Asia or Russia? Because it was the different continents on this PR poster kind of folder. And I just set that little chunk, one continental chunk off onto the fin. Was sprinkling and spraying light at night, and everyone was cheering. Well, my God, here we are, umpteen years later, and you said something that's so invaluable. Choice.
Yes.
This is a loaded word.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you want to rebel against not having choice to wear this. Okay, you're going to rebel, but you also have a choice how to perceive this. If somehow magically everyone, I see the light is, told me about the light, I'm fading and coming in and out.
Strobe going on, a disco.
This, if everyone on Earth, for example, was somehow magically given $100,000, euros, whatever is the equivalent, to wear this for the next 2 months, I guarantee you that most people will shift their perception about what this symbolizes. And that is simply an example of choice.
Yeah.
There is a choice how to perceive everything. That's hard for me to say because it's really hard to do in certain circumstances, you know, but that is a reality. And so I hope that people hold that kernel, if nothing else, if there's nothing else to hold on to right now, and one feels like one is truly bobbing in the middle of the most violent storm. I've been told that there is, in fact, a way to choose to perceive that differently. Now, look, I've been in my own stormy dark night of the soul, as I've told you, for years, and there were really, really rough spots. And I had to dig to the deepest reserves inside of me to try to perceive differently. And it didn't always work, but sometimes it did. And so I kept trying. That's all I want to encourage, that people just trust that you don't have control over the results, but you do have control over the choice to consider that there might be an alternative response. And then from there, energy can find its way in its time, in its way. It's not going to be necessarily how we expect it.
Never is. Never is how we expected it.
Indeed, indeed. I felt it too. Listen, you felt the rumblings 2.5 years ago. I know that early in January, like the first few days in January in this year, I found myself, I was dining out with some people, and this inexplicable wave of beyond sadness came over me, and I started to, it wasn't sobbing. I was just crying in a state of suspended animation almost. It was non-stop, and I just felt, I have not ever felt this way before. I can't describe it, but I know you and other sensitives would understand what I'm talking about. So however one is sensing something, if we're open and connecting and trying to constantly stay open in there to hearing, we're going to get messages or prompts or senses of things, and these things sometimes are there to help navigate the ride, to sort of nudge us in, and sometimes it's in the most infinitesimal way, right?
Yes.
You know, just get a slight prompting like that. Instead of going like that, it's like, it's so subtle that it's important to quiet down and practice that so you can hear it or feel it, sense it. I'm learning. But.
Well, this is why a pause is very important. And this is why I feel you hear so much more in silence and in stillness. This is why we say go to nature. The trees have a most amazing matrix of communication with each other. They don't care what kind of tree you are, old, young, fern, willow, they don't care. The matrix supports each other, communicates with each other. They are solid as a forest. And we can be that way ourselves as human beings. That algorithm that we have of connection, vibrational connection. When you say, I don't know, I just connect with you. I'm on the same wavelength. I can feel your energy source. This is where we are connecting beyond words, beyond action. And if we can ride together in this beautiful symphony, we could actually understand that each and every one of our instruments is important. Every single one of our instruments is important. And to bring it to that orchestra of life and create that symphony that resonates out and invites out to people is important. And it doesn't matter if you're just doing the triangle or if you're doing a solo, who cares? The whole point is we need everybody. And when everybody knows that, yes, life can be painful sometimes. Life can be sorrowful sometimes. Don't shut down to avoid it. Go through it. It's there for a reason. And you may not understand it while you're going through it, but you'll understand it later when you look back on it. And sometimes, just like I had to flatten myself for a few days, and I gave you permission to do the same, that big sigh and sob that you had, it was a release and even a preparation of what is to come. Is we don't have to overanalyze everything. Sometimes we just have to be in the moment of whatever that emotion is and be willing to go through it. If you need to cry, cry. I don't know what I'm crying about. Doesn't matter. Just cry. Let it out. If it's a time you need to throw your arms around yourself, do so. A time you need to just sleep because your body needs that, do so. Please take care of yourself because you can't contribute anything else to anyone else. And we are asking humanity to step up cohesively, to come together as individuals to the collective to create that symphony, because this is where the energy is going. This is where the frequency, I've been saying now for years, the universe is turning the volume up on us every year, another notch and another notch and another notch of awakening. And people are awakening, the souls and hearts are awakening, and they realize, my God, I haven't lived until now. And this is the wake-up call that we're having at the moment, and people are waking up. Those that have woken will not go back.
Right.
They will not go back because we're all on a different energy plane right now.
Exactly. That's very reassuring that at least for all one's hard-earned efforts, there isn't any turning back.
No.
And there are a lot of people that don't have a place to go for comfort.
Right.
And the idea, the notion of going to oneself for that comfort is really alien. You want to talk about aliens out there, and they talk about that maybe they're aliens. We are living on a planet of nearly 8 billion aliens. We are alienation,
Yes.
alienations from self and other. And the most critical alienation is from self, which is where source
Speaks
is
to us.
dwelling.
Yes.
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 So again, what you're saying is so important, that people, even if you don't trust it, even if you don't understand it, even if it seems absurd, like the tree was for me, just when you need comfort and you cannot find it from something out there or someone out there, you just can't, just acknowledge your existence, or acknowledge something that is a through line for your experience of momentary love. I hope that most people, if not everyone, has experienced a moment of love for someone or something in their lifetime. And if one has had even that moment, as I said in my presentation, even if it's the taste of a potato chip on one's palate and they loved that, let that little seed of love be your reference point. And then you can cultivate that. I mean, it's a process, but It's a starting point. It's a
Yes.
seed.
It's
And
ignition, right? The
it's the
key's in the
ignition.
ignition. Yes,
Exactly.
yes.
Yes, exactly.
But
And
you know
thank
what?
God.
But people like you who've put on this incredible source of wonder, which gosh, how many hours was it? About 15, 16 hours collectively?
For all I know, it's still going on, but it was about 13 hours, I think. It was
Yes,
2 weekends,
yes.
4 days. Yeah, yeah.
And you know, you've put it together. And the thing is, if you say, well, I don't know how, I want to, but I don't know how. Well,
Mhm.
listening to the source of wonder, where
Yeah.
people who have already embraced that source, are already living in that wonderment, who are already expressing themselves. They're there to show you the way. They're there to push more buttons to ignite it within yourself. They're there to share the skills and the tools that you can apply to yourself. You are never alone. I've got 2,700 shows here of people that have embraced that light. And if you listen and you learn and you apply, you awaken. But don't just stand there and say, well, I don't know where to go, what to do. There is plenty of material out there. You've got 13 odd hours of it just in that one program. In our Let's Get Synced series, we did a
Yes.
whole wonderful series. We have a lot of people that were actually in that event too, where, you know, an hour or 2 hours each show of incredible passion and information and an invitation and an enlightenment. It's there for us. This is why you do what you do. This is why I do what I do. We're here to show you you're not alone. You don't have to go through this alone. We
Right.
may have, but that doesn't mean you have to, because we're going to share that passion and that conviction and that reason for igniting yourself. And when you do, and you go through that process and you give birth to yourself, and you realize, oh God, I'm finally living what took me so long, right? And that's the jubilation we want you to have. But you're not alone. You've got to do it alone, in the sense that you've got to be the one to participate in your own action and your own actionism, right? You've got to be a participant in your own life. But we're here with all that wonderful wisdom for you, that is there to encourage you and invite you and nurture you along the way.
Oh, God, yes. And thank God. The Source of Wonder event and self-discovery media and so many blossoming, burgeoning other wonderful endeavors that are out there are blooming more and more in a very fertile soil. Speaking of soil, you know, the whole issue, because everything is coming to the fore, right?
Right.
Including climate change, the climate crisis. And I want to say to the people to the climate deniers, I understand that too. I can understand, because in a sense, they are right. The climate is always changing,
Mhm.
but so is the population. It's popping up all over the place in places it previously hadn't,
Yes.
and in places that it can no longer sustainably, due to the fact that the Earth itself is not constantly changing. The size of the Earth is
Yeah.
the size that it is. And so the fact that over industrialization, even in all of its innovation at the time, has prompted an acceleration and intensification of what might have taken us originally maybe 1,000 years to get to,
Yes.
which is called the sixth mass extinction. So in a sense, they're right. Yes, the climate is always changing, but the fact of the matter is the population is not, it's growing. And as it grows and it needs more, there are more demands, more mouths to feed, housing, and coupling that with the dynamics of the change of the climate to such an extent that it is working in the opposite direction of the population explosion, it's a perfect storm.
Yes.
So that's critical to understand, that climate change and changing the emotional climate are really opposite halves of the same coin. Because if we shift our disposition towards self and other, then the behaviors and the policies and the procedures and the entire orientation of a civilization that is living here amongst many other species will work differently, will accommodate itself and its environment, I believe, more harmoniously. So it's all intrinsically linked. And that's, I am sometimes very sorry that there's such vitriol even amongst that division. You know, we've got the geopolitical, and then we have the climate, and we've got all these, you know, very serious issues: cybersecurity, education, health. And so sometimes these divisions that seem to be absolutely diametrically opposed have through lines. There's a thread. There may be a connecting fissure, filament, not a fissure. Fissure is a crack, a filament. So that in that little tiny filament that has a connecting point, maybe we can reorient our focus towards that, towards the center. I want to say one other thing too, because you you beautifully express the dynamic of the symphony, and that every note is so vital and precious individually to the collective. And this is another thing that I feel has been warred over in its own way. You look at social media, social media, social media. It turns into
medieval.
Yes, the medieval. Got a lot of
in some ways,
in there,
yes.
right? Yes. And if you siphon that down to its essence, what is it? It is simply, again, the need, the desperate need for all of us to be seen and heard and valued, and feel we've got some kind of worth, that we matter, and that we're loved even just as is. So that desperation that is being played out also on social media is yet another reflection of the prism, the angle where the light currently is catching us on the not so attractive side of our global selfie.
Yeah,
And,
exactly. But you know, that's the contrast. Having the contrast we can look at and go, I could be just a hair away from that. You know, and at some point, my life has been about me, because that's the exploration. And a lot of people are chasing me and the importance of me through the validation of others. And so that's what social media a lot is about. Now, you know, people will bash social media, but if you use it in the wrong way, yes, again, it's an algorithm. It's going to feed what you're feeding. So if you're going to be feeding the stirring up, the discontent, the hate, that is what the algorithm is going to give you. But if you're feeding the support and the camaraderie and the exploration, that is what you're going to get. But that goes not beyond social media, that goes on your invitation vibrationally in life. What you put out is what you're going to receive. So you have to ask yourself, yes, you can be angry. Who wouldn't be angry about 2020? It's been a tumultuous year. But instead of being angry, okay, you're allowed your moment of anger, get it over with, right? But now look at it, what's the opportunity? Where's my opportunity in it? What was the invitation to me personally, to what I can do to be a contributor, which I use the word quite often, contributor, because we are here to contribute. We're here to share ourselves with the collective in order to make this a better world for us all to live in. It's a time where we have that choice again to what are we going to step into. And, you know, certainly here in North America, you know, in America with the election, you know, the bashing that would come up, and the people who disagree with you, and then the loathing and the hate that would come out. And it's like, this is only a reflection of who you are. It's not a reflection of who you are deep down inside, because you won't even let that person out. It's a reflection of your own discontent. And we have to ask ourselves, if we're reacting to this, what the hell is going on in our lives that we could so easily react? What is it saying about us, and where are we going to take that responsibility? I don't like that action. I don't like the fact I said that, I responded in that way. That's not me. Then why are you doing it? What's disconnected in you? Because we need to make that connection. Our planet has basically been raped and pillaged now for how long? We were given this bill of goods of that more is more, that you had to have more. Houses had to be bigger, cars had to be faster. Every person I've interviewed that bought into the more is more either ended up being very sick, cancer, heart disease, you name it, tumors on the brain, walked away from all of that to go and do something they really loved. And now they truly feel abundant and enriched. And they live on a great deal less. And they are more enriched than they ever were with the riches that they had. Priorities. More does not mean you're going to be more happy. Happiness is an inside job. That's really where the abundance lies. And you have to be willing to take the journey and do the work in order to open that up, because it's
Uh,
waiting for you.
this is powerful, and this is a very strong reflection of the Western
Mm-hmm.
cultures, and then it creates, well, first of all, anger. Anger is an identity like everything else, and so people that hold on to their anger, um, I can understand that they do that for fear that there is no other identity,
Right.
or I guess it's almost like a life raft. It's something to cling on to, and it becomes, I suppose, more ingrained. It's like the centrifugal force. The
Mm.
more that you spin in that, the more you're in the
Yes,
grips of
you're in the hurricane. How do you get out?
yeah, how to get
Right?
out.
Yes.
And that hurricane is not just relegated to one nation over there because we are, sorry guys, but we're a global dysfunctional family of different
Yes.
nations rippling
Yes.
through infinity on a tiny spit of land called Earth. And that is the reality. You could call it a prearranged marriage that nobody asked to be brought into, but that's the reality. It does not mean you have to love everybody, and it does not mean you have to like anybody. The respect
Yeah.
and the care is what is going to drive the engine. But when one nation who has been reared on this Western, you know, uh,
Opulence.
yes, opulent, and markets it so beautifully and so creatively and cleverly to the rest of the world, it is understandable that even these other societies that were not raised with that kind of value system, but may have been more internally,
Yeah.
or will still be feeling left out of the party, left out of the fruits of whatever, the cherries on the cake.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to feel a sense of belonging. And so that's as true for the individual as it is for the collective. And makes me think of simple. Makes me
Yes.
think of John Bunzel,
Yes.
his simple simultaneous policy. I'm going to give a little plug.
Yes.
In fact, here, I've got if anybody has nothing to read over the holidays, the US version and the EU, so to speak, version, it's so important to understand the psychohistory, as Nick Duffel refers to it, of what brought us over the epochs to this critical point that we're in, and to understand that leaders of nations and corporations are themselves gripped in this untenable DGC, destructive global competition. That's what John calls it. And that they cannot effectuate the kind of policy, sweeping legislation on behalf of those key global issues and on behalf of their better angels that they may want to, uh, if they go it alone, or if they do so only in the minority, because that goes against the very tenets of competitive business.
Mm-hmm.
Too great a fiscal risk or incurring fiscal losses. And so the idea of a multilateral call where all nations, leaders of nations and corporations, as well as the voting public, come together to acknowledge those handful of key global issues that are going to make or break us all is terribly important. It could be really the make or break for the geopolitical landscape in the
Yeah.
future. And leadership, I understand the notion of power, very seductive power, and especially when one does not feel empowered from
Yeah.
within,
Hmm.
the power and the taste of power is that much more seductive. So this is something that's very important from the interpersonal sense of nurturing the sense of one's source, power source, as well as feeding that to the leadership that's currently out there and the future leadership that will be voted in depending on our disposition.
Right.
Uh,
Which I think that,
yeah,
that shift, that change is most certainly taking place now. And I got to interview John, for the Let's Get Sync series, and
wonderful.
it's been very, very well received. And I know he was in a cabin where it was extremely hot. So the poor guy was sweating like crazy. But yeah, another person was Robert Gierk. And I've often referred to him in shows because of his pure necessity, which is,
Yes,
people, planet before profit. And it's
yes,
such a simple concept. If you invest in the people and you invest in the planet, they will always be there and produce profit for you. If you are, which has been and is still practiced in certain parts of the world, profit at the expense of the people and planet, everybody's a loser.
yes, I
Absolutely
never
everybody.
understood. Sarah, I never even understood that. If I was some kind of a power mongering leader, if I was, wouldn't I at least want to have, and this is a terrible extreme to use, but wouldn't I at least want to have somebody to be powerful over? But that they're
No,
defying the
no,
very
yeah.
nature of even
No,
that.
no, but you have to understand there are certain leaders out there, and there's another a trilogy show I have on narcissism, which was such an eye opener, and we have 3 or 4 very high narcissistic people running their countries, and narcissists, it's about me, myself, and I, and if you don't agree with me, therefore you are against me, and
Mm,
they do not work for the people are there to work for them.
mm,
And when you've got narcissists in power, that's when they don't care if they literally cut the legs off everything, as long as they benefit in the now.
yeah.
And they don't look long term. They can't. They're living in the paranoia all the time. And we have to be careful who we put in power, because we need put people in power that use the word empower. They're there to empower their nation. They're there to enrich their nation, not to step into power and ego and riches of their own device. If a truly abundant country is that is being empowered by their leaders. And to
Mm.
remember, the leaders are working for the people, which a lot of leaders forget.
Yes, yes. This is a very deeply ingrained paradigm,
Yes.
and so that's one of the reasons. Yeah, Robert's Pure Necessity is a terrific platform, as is Simple, and
Yes.
I think
And the thing is,
these,
they're both simple.
yeah,
They really are. I
exactly,
mean, they're both,
exactly,
simple concepts that are
yes.
very achievable.
Yes, they are. And I've often said that within Al Gore's climate reality group, that the necessity for something like Simple in order
Yeah.
to propel these policies that many wish to uphold with the Paris Accords, but can't seem to. Because if it's an all for one or none for all
Yeah.
proposition,
Yeah.
it really is, then multilateral becomes a very dynamic win-win game changer for nearly everyone. It's not socialism. I don't want people to misunderstand. There's still, I mean, something like Simple's global governance platform, they really respect the inherent integrity of national sovereignty and
Yes.
policy at the local level, while only addressing what would be those key global issues
Yeah.
like,
A
you know,
unison. Yeah.
that's right. And
Yeah.
the unison is key, because if
Yes.
every country more or less works together at the same time on behalf of, then that drives down the risks and the
Yes.
cost.
It also takes away competitive, because
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
competitiveness is slicing and dicing, and
Yeah.
and when a collaboration is enriching. Another young man that you sent me to is Prashant.
Oh,
Uh,
Prashant is
he's
extraordinary. A leader.
oh, I said that. He gave me 2 hours. What young man at 23 gives you 2 hours? And he's in a suit and tie, and I know he's sweating like crazy because it was really hot where he was. And he is just, I mean, I said to him all the way through, you are a future leader. And he's was since invited me to be a part of this educational platform that they put forth of enticing new environmentalists in from his country. And I was very honored to be invited. He was his YouTube of it really had so many listeners, and considering it's 2 hours, a young man talking about, environmentalism and also talking about waste, wanting to change the whole waste platform in his country. It was just, I've interviewed a few people of late in their 20s, and I know our future in their hands is in good shape. And
Yes.
we need to be
Yes.
behind more of these people because they are born leaders. And they're not leaders, the egomaniacs and want the power. They're leaders because they want to incorporate that equality for their people and for the environment and for future generations. And so that's why they really are true leaders.
Yeah, Peshang has such integrity and
Yeah.
such poise and presence,
Yes.
and it's absolutely evident in the young generations that are coming up. I really see that more and more amidst all of the chaos and all of the, this dissenting opinion about so many things. But there's a real a seed of great caring.
Yeah.
Uh, and I pray to God that that continues to grow. But we're nourishing and nurturing their soil, aren't we?
Well, yeah, we're nurturing those seeds. And
Yes,
and the thing is it's something to remember. When you plant seeds, you water and you nurture them, but you don't dictate their growth. They will grow as they grow. The more you nurture and
yes,
water and love and believe in those seeds that they are going to grow, when they do grow, they will grow fruitfully. And that's the thing. Don't tug on them. Don't demand them. Don't say you've got to grow like this, right? It's surrender and just nurture.
I want to say, off the heels of this, the Source of Wonder event, the comet has passed, but the tail light continues.
Yes.
We are putting together an end of the year, a sort of a holiday edition to usher in 2020 Wonder, Source of
Yes,
Wonder,
I like that.
2020
Yeah. I wonder what it's going to be.
Wonder. And it is going to be dedicated to the youth this time, which
Mm,
is really Masami Sayonji, who is the creator and one of the initiators of the Fuji Declaration. And that was what we were celebrating, the
mhm.
fifth anniversary of the Fuji Declaration vis-a-vis the Source of Wonder event. And she is very dedicated to nurturing and fostering the youth and bringing the source,
Yes.
or whatever we shall call it, to their soul, their little souls and their larger souls and their
Mhm.
growing souls. So we're going to do a kind of a best ofs. It's really a consolidated 2-hour excerpts of
Mhm.
the speakers, but now with this orientation towards a dedication to youth.
Wonderful.
So it's
Yeah.
really lovely. And
Yes. Oh no. And you must let me know when that happens, and I'll share it like mad, and
I,
I'll add it to the Source of Wonder page I have, which people can come back to and see all of that there. So I'm keeping it going because I just listening to some of the people on there. It's so enlightening, and it doesn't matter if you are an enlightener. We always get enlightened by other enlighteners, because it's always a different perspective, and it's a different ray of light, and it's a different ignition, or it's just something that's a verification. So even if you are the light, you be amongst other lights, because it's something that we all need. That's the nourishment that we give each other. I've got a
Absolutely.
series coming out next year, a book called the Forgotten Children series. I've actually done some podcasts on it, but I'm going into a book, and I'm going to be probably doing at least three books in this, and each person is a contributor in it. I believe that we have forgotten our children, not only in the nourishing, the nurturing, and the raising of them, but also the forgotten child within inside. And most people's problems and disconnect in their lives is because they've disconnected from their inner child, or their inner child was abused, neglected, or something in some way. That injured child makes an injured adult. And we're going to be doing an entire book series on that, because if we don't invest in our children are our future. And if we don't give them all the light and love and whatever they need, we're going to just be back in a dysfunctional future. And we don't want that. Been there, done that. That was yesterday. It's a new day. Let's make sure that we carve out this new day with fruitful soil for our beautiful innovators to grow.
Mm. My God, that almost sounds like something worth celebrating, worth having a party about. Maybe
Yes.
a synchronistory party,
Yes.
a party for the planet celebrating every living being.
Yes.
I want to sort of bring this to hopefully an uplifting ending, because I have been working for 34 years now,
Mm-hmm.
almost, as you already know, on it's a little miracle project. Uh, it is a party for the planet
Mm-hmm.
to celebrate our multicultural worldwide history and every living being, broadcast live worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
And I am talking serious fun, a party.
Yes.
But something that occurs on every continent simultaneously, and of course, like any good hostess knows, a great fete is only as good as its guest list.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, this planet is a mess. So we still
Yes.
have a little bit of priming the planet for party time to
Mm-hmm.
do.
Yeah.
But in these
It's
coming
not
years,
celebration time, it's exploration time.
that's right. I
Yes.
like that. Hopefully, in the years to come,
Mm-hmm.
there will be reason to do this mega event, which has
Mm-hmm.
never been done before, where it really, where there is no special person anymore, where everybody and every being becomes the star of the show.
Yeah.
And it's music driven, interstellar, a kick ass wow event that is for us all, like a
Right.
massive gift to everybody. We've never had that before. Don't we
No.
deserve that instead of historic catastrophe and calamity?
Well, we,
So
we get world news when it's a catastrophe. Why can't
mhm,
we get world news when it's something to celebrate? We
because it's
don't
not dazzling
celebrate
enough.
celebration, do we?
Yeah, but
Right?
because it's never dazzling enough.
No.
And this time we can prove that uplift can be absolutely
We'll
phenomenal.
bedazzle it.
But we have time still. Oh, it's wonderful to share with you today, tonight, wherever people are listening.
Wherever people are. No, it's always a delight to have you here. It most certainly is. And so, for people to go back and listen to The Source of Wonder,
Mm.
um, I have it here. As is, we're going to be closing off with your wonderful show, generating soul, SOUL, our power for a brighter world, your music video, which was wonderful. And it's here on your show page anyway. But give them the sites that you want people to have, love. And obviously, they can come here to selfdiscoverymedia.com and put in your name, and all 4 shows that you've done with me will be there, plus the Source of Wonder series. But give people the other sites and how they can get hold of you.
All right. Well, oh, it's always a mouthful. Making history in synchronicity, Synchronistory.
Mm-hmm.
So synchronistory.com is my website with the future party. The website is going to be revamped for early spring next year. So right now it's still the fossilized version.
Mm-hmm.
We also have the sourceofwonder.com website with all of the past programs, as well as the individual thumbnail uploads daily right through till the end of the year. Wonderful to check that. And I would also like to say Irvin Laszlo's fantastic book, which was part of the initiation of the Source of Wonder event, Reconnecting to the Source. A wonderful read. I
Mm-hmm.
highly recommend it. And John Bunzel's Simple Simultaneous Policy,
Mm-hmm.
simple.org. Simple.org.
Simpol.org. Yeah.
Exactly. Simultaneous policy.
Yeah, and
So,
also come back and listen to him on Let's Get Sync series,
yes,
because he really just laid it all out. It was wonderful.
it was wonderful. And Peshang and Robert and
Yes,
Palasturi and
and so many others. Yes, so many others. So, I mean, it was really a wonderful series, which I definitely would like to do again. Under something
yes,
else, because it was
Hindu.
just
Ah, yes, I just thought of Hindu Ibrahim also.
yes,
Wonderful
yes,
Hindu.
all people that were completely passionate, about what they do. Mila.
Yes.
Popovich and so many more. Our wonderful ambassador, Flora, right?
Ah,
Yeah, Flora.
and now I'm from the Let's Get
Yeah,
Sync
yeah,
series.
yeah.
Oh, God. Now I'm blanking.
Yes, yes,
I got
me
the
too,
reason I
me
got
too,
lost.
me too. But that's just very, very simple. I just go to my
What's
Let's Get
their
Sync
name?
thing. And the thing is worthwhile coming and listening to, because of all the people that are on there that have shared so much. And the beautiful thing, what I loved about it, none of them are on the high horse. It doesn't matter what position they've got in the world. This is a commitment from them to change the way the world looks at life. So there's Nick Duffel, John Bunzel, Prashant,
Paula Fiore. Paula.
Paula, that's it. Paula,
Who's
yes. And
also,
Paula,
mhm,
Robert, Mila, Kat Huber,
yes, Pat.
Helen Lindmark, Mark
Yes,
Jean Blaise, Anne
yes,
Komberger, Yoshiyuki Momoto, who I've
yes,
actually
yes.
interviewed him a few times, actually. He's wonderful. And then, of course, I added to it was the wonderful Polly Higgins,
Mm,
who we lost this year, which was such a shame, because, the work that she's been doing to pass a law of,
equal time.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm,
but her work continues on, but it was such a shame. And Robert Williams, who's been in this energy water for a long time, and Rennie Sheldma, about documentarists, and of course the Hindu. So many beautiful people, and they all gave their time, which is absolutely wonderful, and so much to learn. But I think this is something that, what we can leave people off with is, please give the time to listen and be inspired by other people, because inspiration is invitation. When you're inspired by the work these people are doing and you're infused about it, it is an invitation for you to step up and do something yourself. And for some people who say, oh, I don't want to do anything, when you're going to get left behind. Sorry, calling it as it is, because we all have to participate. We all have to share. We're all given a gift that we're meant to bring to the table. And when you step into that gift and you start sharing, then you become an inspiration for someone else. So if you really want to learn how, or to ignite your heart and soul, to become a part of the source, to live in wonderment of what's coming, listen to these shows. Listen to the Source of Wonder. Listen to these other people that have dedicated their lives to it. 34 years you've been doing this with such passion and conviction. And your fulfillment dream is not yet there. But with this Source of Wonder, it most certainly was a step in the right direction. And there's so much more to come from you, I know. And that's because you are committed. And that's the important thing. So if you want to be inspired, then make sure that you step up, not only into your own gift, but listen to other people, because other people will show you your own gift. You'll start recognizing it in yourself as you listen to other people.
so true. So true. There's so many surprising voices also of change. I also think of Prince Alfred of Liechtenstein,
Mm,
who most people don't think of royalty
yeah,
as being self-possessed in the soulful sense, and he really communicated. And Fabrizio Hochschild from the United Nations, Under Secretary General. Now there are a lot of voices, diverse voices,
yes,
as well as those that we've come to know, like Deepak and Lynn
yeah,
McTaggart and so forth. So, and again, people like Peshang. So they're all
yeah,
out there,
yeah.
and even the ones that we're not aware of. like
I
the
mean, look at
butcher or
Diana's
the
son,
baker.
Harry. You know,
Yes,
I mean, he's following in his mother's footsteps. He was willing to walk away from his life because he had a passion and a conviction that wasn't in line with what they wanted to do and what he wanted to stand for. That takes courage, and that is so inspiring that you can step away from the expectations of others to follow your own conviction.
true. But thank God you haven't stepped away from your passion because we need you. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Can you spell Synchronicitory for people who are just listening?
Yes, and someday I'll teach you how to say
Yeah, I
it.
know. I never say it properly. Sorry.
Okay, Synchronistory. Let me see if I can. I have to write it as I'm saying it. Synchroni and the word story. Synchronisstory.com.
Synchronicitory. There we go.
Don't worry, you'll have a lot of time to practice.
Yes, just there's some of those words that you can't get around. My dyslexia wants to take me in another direction.
All good.
So
And thank
I'm
your
look.
viewers and your listeners. I just want to say that ever and always, even if they don't agree, thank you for being willing to just listen.
Yes, yes. And you know, please go back and listen. I mean, the thing is the way you've done it, you know, there's 3 hours on this one Saturday and 4 hours on another. Because of the way you've done it, you can always fast forward to somebody else. If there's somebody else of different interest, it doesn't matter. I have the audio version of it too that's going to be going up. So if people want to just listen to it by audio and not just by YouTube, the whole point is you can be driving to work, you could be doing the dishes, you could be doing the gardening, and you could be listening to this and just getting so much enlightenment and the music. And of course, we're closing out with your song, which is absolutely beautiful. Tell people a little bit about your song before we close off.
All right. Well, everybody talks about, with the environment, solar power, but there's another kind of power that lives inside
Mhm.
of everybody.
Our own
Even one
generator.
that you don't believe it could live, it lives in that one too. And it's called soul. So I'm inviting everybody to regenerate, resource yourself this holiday season and long beyond
Mm.
with solar power. Soul, our power.
Mhm.
Soul. Take
Wonderful.
it away, Sarah.
Sit back, listen to the song. It's going to uplift you. It's very different, just like her language is different in the way that she expresses herself. It is in the song. And that's what's so wonderful because she really takes you on a journey. It's not just a nice little tune. She takes you on a journey with the song. Dive in, close your eyes, listen to it. Don't do it if you're driving. Keep your eyes open. Listen to the song, take the journey along with her. Again, all you have to do is just put in Alison Goldwyn in selfdiscoverymedia.com. You see all 4 of her shows plus her song there, and the link to the Source of Wonder and the link to the Let's Get Synced series. It's all there. Please come back and listen to all her other shows as well. She is an illumination. It's wonderful to have her in the world, bringing all these people together. And I know there's a lot more to come from you. And I can't wait for your next episode. And heart right back to you. And yes, controversial or not, please wear a mask. Argue about it later, but wear it right now. Yes. Oh, it's wonderful having you here, Alison, my love.
Much love to you. I loved it. Bless you. We'll see you soon.
And to everyone out there, remember, if you're willing to listen to other people and their journey, they will ignite your own. And please, I promise you, it's worth taking that journey into your self-discovery, discovering what your beautiful instrument is, how to bring it to the orchestra life, create that symphony that resonates out. I promise you, when you're there, you'll never want to go back and you'll understand what life is all about. Until next time, bye for now.
Who am I? Where do I come from? Where am I going? Who are you? Where do you come from? Where are you going? One world, one one-way ticket bound for birth without a choice to come here. Then we're taught a lot of thoughts that tell us we are one. Love your brother, one another, one for all and all for nothing. Power! The world is driven by the power. The world is hungry for their power, and we'll do anything to grab it. Hold it, don't let go. Say the universe is destined for demise. Climate change is changing us before our very eyes. Global warming, toxic thinking, global warning, Earth is sinking. Power! We gotta generate some power. We're gonna shift to solar power, and we'll do anything to save us. Hold us, take it slow. Climate change is in the air, 'cause everyone is everywhere, and what we think is what we breathe. Our oxygen is our belief. So change our mind and change the planet. Take the power we were handed. Make our hearts become the motor, driving us to soul us closer. Who are we? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Who are we? How did we get here? Messing it up here. Power! Gotta generate power! Gotta make a solar shift. Power! Gonna make a shift to solar power. Yes, as power does, and power makes the world go bust. But now a wake-up call is coming. Planet person, stop your running. Here we are, but here we're not. 'Cause same old stories full of rock. Pull our weeds and up our roots. It's time for us to all reboot. Every human being has a meaning on this earth. What it is and finding it can make us lose our nerves. All I know is there's one home, and where's the hope if home is broken? Power! We gotta generate some power. We're gonna shift to solar power, and we'll do anything to save us. Hold us, take it. Asia, Europe and Americas, India, Africa, Australia, Arabia, Antarctica. Asia, Europe and Americas, India, Africa,
We hope you enjoyed the show. We look forward to bringing you more shows. Please go to selfdiscoverymedia.com/shows and you will see the incredible lineup of genres and shows that we have for you. We are here to make a difference in your life. Thank you for listening.